Good morning. Welcome to another episode of HardFoul, the voice of the smartass fan. Hope you guys are enjoying yourself, however you're listening, whether it's on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, and or SoundCloud. I've been working on the voice of the smartass fan, and only because I really didn't know how to simplify the term of guy who yells at his TV when SportsCenter anchor says something stupid and he disagrees with. So, I turned that into voice of the smartass fan. And I think it's true. A lot of my opinions and a lot of my things are, and just the whole basis behind this podcast is I've watched SportsCenter, I've watched FS1, I've watched regular Fox News, CNN, like different sport outlets, Sports San Diego, and I just would always get so angry. Maybe angry is not the right word, but I would just get irritated, and I would always feel like I had to respond and say something because they would just say something that I would think is stupid. So I'm like, I got to call them out if they're being stupid, right? Like, no one would want to just go around their whole life thinking they're smart and really they're stupid. So, that's why I'm here, to give those opinions, which is why I so on a regular basis compare and contrast with what mainstream media says and then my personal opinion. And I don't do it just as a means to be different. I do it because when you're wrong, and someone's got to say something. So this is the voice of the smartass fan. Hope you guys are having a great Friday. Hope you guys are ready to have a great weekend. I'm super excited about today's show. May or may not have some kind of important people listening. So yeah, let's get right into it. And I wanted to start today off. I thought it was interesting, and it's in speaking of people being wrong. I think I'm wrong on this. I've always stated that the NFL draft, NBA draft, MLB draft is a crapshoot, right? And it's not a very uncommon thing to hear most people tell you, yeah, the draft's a crapshoot. This is why you have guys like Tom Brady. This is why you have guys, even Mike Trout slipped to the 26th pick. Like, there's examples of guys being great who weren't early in the draft, and there's guys who are complete bust who are the first, second, and third pick in the draft. And so it's very easy to say, hey, the draft's a crapshoot. What are you going to do? Well, let me explain to you why that's actually wrong. Here's why. So I'm watching the Panthers and Eagles game last night for Thursday Night Football. I think like a lot of people are. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, there's plays that Cam Newton makes that, as a guy who's a fan of the Denver Broncos and is watching Trevor Siemian, and I like Trevor. Trevor's a good quarterback. He's a good system player. He's been making plays. But he can't do a tenth of the things that Cam Newton can. Cam Newton is a first overall pick. I'm watching Carson Wentz. Escape and make plays outside of the pocket. The touchdown to Zach Ertz, the second one, which is simply a matter of he has a stronger arm than 90 to 95% of the guys in the league. Other guys can't do that. Carson Wentz was the second overall pick. When you take a group of middle schoolers, right, and you send them out for PE class, and usually every PE coach in the world on Fridays, it's kind of like, hey, chill day, go play football, go play basketball. And you got this group of middle schoolers that are playing basketball. And it's, okay, you go be a captain, pick your team, then run the game. Who's going to get picked first? The guy who's taller? The guy who the other kids can kind of tell, maybe if they can't fully rationalize it, they can just tell that he's matured physically quicker, so he's a little bit stronger, he's a little bit bigger than the other kids. You could be Michael Jordan in middle school, but you're only 5'5". They will take the guy who is 6 feet tall over you every day of the week until they just figure out the 6-foot dude can't play at all. And even then, the 6-foot dude who can't play will get taken over the 5'5" dude who can't play. There is physically things that he can do at 6 feet tall that the kid at 5'5" cannot. Cam Newton, I watched it last night. He made 2 or 3 plays specifically throwing across his body. Those throws to the tight end, most quarterbacks can't even get the ball that far. Cam can get hit, make the throw, complete it, and still get the tight end 13, 14 yards. The run that should have been a touchdown where he leaped. He ran for 13 yards and then leaped for like another 4 or 5 yards. 99% of the guys in the league can't do that. Take, for example, a Randy Moss, first round pick. Even though he has all these character issues, he is elite. He is big time because he can physically do things that other guys can't do. Rod Smith, Denver's all-time leading receiver. Most yards and touchdowns ever by an undrafted player. Guess what? He still loses to Randy Moss because Randy Moss is 6'4". He runs this great. He has this great 40 time. He's got a vertical. He does things physically that Rod Smith can't do. So when you're thinking and saying the draft is a crapshoot because there's guys that pan out and there are guys that don't, that's wrong. That's 100% wrong. You are drafting a guy based on what he can do, not what you think he will do. And this is where we get the misconception as fans. We think it's what he thinks he's going to do. No, there is a clear difference when you draft Randy Moss and when you don't draft Rod Smith. There is a clear difference when you draft Rob Gronkowski, I'm going to say his name right one time, Gronkowski in the first round, or second round, I apologize, and then you draft a Shannon Sharpe in the 6th or 7th round. Shannon Sharpe's in the Hall of Fame. Not saying that a guy in the 6th and 7th round can't do it, but there's a difference in what Shannon Sharpe can do and what Rob Gronkowski can do. There is. So when you sit there and you're picking your team and you've got all these middle schoolers and they're trying to figure out, okay, who's going to play on my team? Who's going to do the best? It's not, oh, well, I know this guy and I know he's got a good jump shot. I know he takes 100 shots a night. I know he's got this huge heart and he really is going to hustle for me. No, I'm going to take the guy who's already 6'1" and has a mustache. Same way, when you're sitting there and drafting a player, whether it is the NFL, Major League Baseball, or NBA, you are taking the guy who is bigger, faster, stronger. This is why they have combines. This is why they test your physical measurables. There is things. Tom Brady's the most accomplished quarterback of all time. Michael Vick can throw farther. He can run faster. He is a physically more put-together quarterback and can just outright do more things than Tom Brady. One is the first overall draft pick. One is 199. Let me also transition this when I was watching the Eagles and Panthers game. Two things. A, and this one I'm not going to go super in-depth in, the hit on Cam Newton where the play was blown dead and Brandon Graham and the rookie on the Eagles, I can't think of his name right now, hit him, would, if that same hit was done on a Tom Brady, a Phillip Rivers, and Aaron Rodgers, he might be out of the league. Like, he might literally be kicked out of the league, said, don't come back, we don't need your business anymore, you're gone, you're fired, suspended. Like, he would have Donald Trump fired that motherfucker. Or fired that son of a bitch, I apologize. Cam took a monster hit. And especially from a vulnerable position, that's how guys get injured. Once again, there's your first overall pick, not getting hurt in a situation where they did that to Trevor Siemian, he might be dead. I mean, we might be having an obituary for Trevor Siemian. We would. Also, to segue into my third topic about the Panthers-Eagles game last night. The Panthers, it looks really cute right now. It looks really nice. They've got this brand new toy. And everyone thinks, oh, it's so cool. Look at all the different ways they can use him. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Christian McCaffrey, all-purpose running back, set all kinds of all-purpose records at Stanford, came into the league, obviously got drafted number 8 by Carolina, and everyone was like, oh my gosh, what a perfect fit. He can catch, he can run, he can return kicks, all these different things you can use him. And Marshall Faulk said something during the game, or I apologize, it was Deion Sanders was speaking for Marshall Faulk, and he had said, give this guy the ball, but as a running back. And it got me to thinking, yeah, why wouldn't you give him the ball as a running back? Do we know the last big-name guy who came out of college who was an all-purpose specialist, could return kicks, catch the ball out of the backfield, elite speed, just get him the ball in space? Like the last truly great one. I'm not talking about the Joe McKnights of the world, rest in peace. I'm not talking about the LaShawn McCoys of the world. I'm going all the way back to Reggie Bush. What did Reggie Bush do when he got in the league? He was a kick returner, punt returner, get him in space, speed, flash, style. He was all of that. And they were even like, oh, he's with the Saints. He's with Sean Payton. He's with Drew Brees. What a great system for him to be in for an all-purpose back. And what did we find out? Reggie Bush was by far a better player when he went to the Detroit Lions, and even the Dolphins before that, and was a hand him the ball 20, 25 times a game, let him get his 1,000 yards, let him run in between the tackles. You know who the last guy to have 1,000 yards for the Lions were? Reggie Bush. Because they took someone that was a running back, and they made him this specialist. There's a reason in other sports. If you go to baseball, you have left-handed specialists. That's fine because they're in for one batter, maybe two. They affect 1% to 2% of the game. When you are a running back, a starting position on offense, you have a much higher percentage of the game that you are affecting, impacting, and that the cause and correlation of that game is dependent on you. Stop turning these guys just because they're fast, just because they have all-purpose skills, just because you think, oh my gosh, this shiny new toy. Camaros can drive on the freeway. Lamborghinis can drive on the freeway. They can also drive on the streets. They can also take the back alley. You might not like it. It might not look as flashy, but they do it. And you need to stop taking guys, Reggie Bush, Christian McCaffrey, and making them strictly freeway cars. I think that was one of my better opening monologues I've had in a while. I was going through that game and I was thinking to myself, I'm like, there's so much you can get when you stop just watching games or stop just appreciating games and you really start like analyzing games. Like there's stuff that you think of. This is why I never need to smoke weed a day in my life, because I feel like when I sit there and I'm examining and breaking down and analyzing these games, I feel like, oh, this is what it's probably like to be high. You have these like weird thoughts and you think, it's like, oh, well, I'm actually Aristotle's. I'm about to say something really stupid right now. I was in Plato. Yeah, there we go. I was going to say it's Pilates, and I was like, that's not the right person. That's not even a person. But, yeah, I was just like, so the more I was analyzing the game, and I'm like, I could do a show just off that game. Like, I could really break those down in each segment, and I could go more in depth on them. But I was like, no, let me stop. Let me get the nitty gritty. Let me get the parts that people want to hear about. And yeah, like I said, just seeing Cam Newton and Carson Wentz, some of the stuff they did, seeing Christian McCaffrey, even though he had a receiving touchdown last night, still was not a effective running back. To watch all the different facets of the game was just, it's truly, I've converted. I am a fan when it comes to Denver, but with everybody else, I've become an analyst. I have become a studier. I have become, big fancy word for fucking know-it-all. So, I said on Wednesday, my 3 things that are going to happen in the NBA, right? I did say this on Monday. I'm sorry, I'm fucking up. On Monday, I gave you the Cavs not making the finals. On Wednesday, I gave you the my 5 realities of the NBA. See, I'm sitting here, I'm trying to go through all my stuff, don't ever be your own audio person. Don't do it. It's annoying, it's terrible, it's hard to keep track of everything, but I'm trying. Really am trying. But anyway, so today is my 3rd thing from the NBA season, and it is my MVP award. Let's not get it twisted here with the MVP award in basketball. It is 100% a storyline business, more so than it is a statistical or valuable argument. everyone always wants to say is like, well, is it the best player on the best team, or is it the most valuable player? Is it the most statistically dominant season? Is it just the best player? Like, what is it? In the NBA, they've shown throughout history it is nothing more than a storyline. Baseball takes it extremely serious, and not only is the MVP and Cy Young Award, it means stats, it means value, it means legacy, it means so many different factors that leads into giving a legitimate and very credible choice for your MVP or your Cy Young Award winner. The NBA says fuck all that and just goes for what's the biggest storyline. Proof. Russell Westbrook averages a triple-double, first player since Oscar Robertson. Taking nothing away from Russell's season, but James Harden contributed to more points for his team than Russell Westbrook did. That technically makes you a more valuable player. You literally put in more points. You know those things you need to score, things you need to have to win the game? He literally did more of that. The MVP for this league in 2017 is going to be Kawhi Leonard. Let me explain why. The storyline of Kawhi Leonard is just better than the storyline of every other MVP candidate. First off, if you take the big MVP candidates, most of them are playing with another superstar or multiple superstars at this point and will no longer be valid for the MVP. Steph Curry wins 2 consecutive MVPs, a unanimous MVP with Klay Thompson and Draymond Green on his team. But as soon as Kevin Durant gets there, okay, well, no, they split the votes. Steph Curry's not even a top 5 guy anymore. James Harden was just runner-up to the MVP. Well, now he's got Chris Paul on his team. Won't even be a top 5 guy anymore. Russell Westbrook just won it. Well, now he's got Paul George, Carmelo Anthony. He won't be a top 5 guy anymore. The MVP favorite. Here's one of the big things when you know about stories. What's one of the probably the biggest story you can get out of an MVP candidate is he plays with no one. What was the case for Westbrook? He played with no one. He's playing with all these second-tier players. Makes it even more incredible how he put up these numbers. What's LeBron's greatest story? Oh, he took a Cleveland team with no one to the finals back in 2007. Who's Kawhi Leonard play with? A LaMarcus Aldridge, who, even if you can statistically make an argument for him being a top 10 power forward, he's lost that in the media. He is no longer a great player. He's no longer seen as a dominant player. He's seen as a regressing player who's only going to get worse as he ages, and a guy who doesn't fit in and is not, as many people in the media say, is not a Spur, whatever the hell that means. He is the best two-way player. Here's the narrative started by Charles Barkley for Kawhi Leonard. What was Westbrook's narrative last year? He was relentless. He was passionate. He was the most fired up player in the league. And that's all great. Kawhi is the best two-way player in basketball. Whether you agree or disagree, I personally disagree. I think there's one guy I think there's 2 guys who I can make a case are better. But the narrative is Kawhi Leonard is the best two-way player in basketball. Another story. The only other guy who has even close to the same kind of credentials or narrative is going to be LeBron. LeBron is going to be playing with a lesser cast. He is playing without Kyrie. LeBron will have to theoretically elevate his play because he doesn't have Isaiah Thomas, who was the big piece coming back until January. Now let me explain why LeBron won't win the MVP. LeBron doesn't care about the regular season. He's still going to take breaks. He's still going to lollygag through games. He's still going to take plays off, and that's fine. He's year 15 in the league. He understands he can get 40 to 50 wins doing the bare minimum in the East, and he'll still make the playoffs, and he will still be a top 2 or 3 seed. That's fine. LeBron will, in deferring to lesser talent, deferring to a aging Dwayne Wade, a Jay Crowder who's not as offensively gifted, and a D Rose who, even though I think will also have his issues playing in that system, It's not the same as giving it to Kyrie. It's not the same as giving it to J.R. Smith on the wing. I understand J.R. Smith is still on the team, but he's going to be playing less minutes, and there's already reports about him being frustrated. So his play, I'm going to presume, kind of comes back down a little bit. Also, schematically, I talked about on Wednesday why I think Dwayne Wade starting is a bad decision. I think he's going to break down. I think he is at the end of his career, if his career is not already ended, and he's just prolonging what's left of his legs. The spacing factor of, which has made LeBron's decline look less realistic because he's been able to transition from a small forward to where he really just plays power forward now. Like, he plays a stretch four. He just hides it really well, which was fine when you had a Kevin Love, a Kyrie, and a J.R. Smith all on the court at the same time, rotate Richard Jefferson, guys who could shoot threes and space the floor, and LeBron got to play in a more open environment. D. Rose doesn't shoot threes. D. Wade doesn't shoot threes. Jay Crowder doesn't really shoot threes. So you now are telling me that, yeah, you put Kevin Love at the 5, which will probably become the best shooting center in the league, which is great. But the other 3 positions, what do you have? Now you have guys who are able to close down on LeBron, who are able to, they don't have to sell out, and they can pack the paint. And the one thing LeBron's shown he struggled with is when teams pack the paint, a la San Antonio, a la Dallas. Kawhi has a better system, better supporting talent in that system. He is going to have the narrative of he plays with no one, and he has the biggest edge, which is it's his time. Why did Jordan only win his X amount of MVPs? Why has LeBron only won his X amount of MVPs? Magic. They were clearly the best players. They were clearly more than deserving in several of these seasons. But when it's your time, and the sports writers want to write that it's your time, the biggest thumbprint of verification is you are now the MVP. Why did Derrick Rose win an MVP? Because it was his time. The Bulls were this new team, D. Rose, Tom Thibodeau, electric point guard, super flashy. His time, he was the MVP. We all knew he wasn't better than LeBron. He was more valuable than LeBron. He wasn't a better player than LeBron. We understand that. But it was his time. Kobe, even though he was robbed of an MVP on several occasions, when did he finally get his? When it was his time. He had finally been this upper echelon, upper class player post Shaq. And even though he had already proven, or at least I believe had, proven this to be a fact, he, still had to go out and prove it again and showed that, hey, I am this upper echelon player. I am this great player. I am all this. And the media was like, it's your time. Kobe gets his first MVP. Kawhi Leonard's going to be MVP, people. Get used to it. So, next we got to get into, and I apologize that I have not been as super consistent as I wanted with this, but like I said, I'm finally back on schedule. Everything has been sorted, figured out, life back on track, set back on track, new place back on track. We're good. So, we got to kick it off. I won't ever do Thursday night games, even though I've talked about the Panthers-Eagles a lot already today. But we are back with our hard foul, surefire 5, trying to beat Vegas, trying to make some money. Let's go, people. First game, Rams at Jaguars. The Rams are a 2.5-point favorite, and everybody, they are telling you the pro bet of the year is to take the Rams 2.5. Everyone is banking on Jared Goff, Todd Gurley, this new and improved offense, this defense. It still has these players, including Aaron Donald, this kicker, punter. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, how are you going to take the Rams when the Jaguars, the only way they win is they play great defense and they run the ball? You know what St. Louis has shown they've struggled against? Great defense, running the ball. They're 27th against the rush. What did they run into last week? A great defense in Seattle, who was 7th against the pass. Jacksonville is ranked 3rd against the pass. Jared Goff is going to struggle. This is a Jaguars team. This is the teams they are going to beat. They are going to beat the teams that they can run on and that they can stop the pass. A la Pittsburgh, a la Ravens. Take the Jaguars in this game. Yes, they are 2.5-point favorites, but all the money is, and they'll probably even get less than that because the money and the pro bets are getting slide towards the Rams. Beat the pros, beat Vegas, take the Jaguars. Steelers at Chiefs for number 2. Steelers are 4.5-point underdogs. Take the Steelers. And here's why. And I could give you 1,000 reasons why Kansas City should win. Better offense, better defense, more complete team, better head coach. And I could give you a whole list of other names. But no Travis Kelce in this game. Tyreek Hill is banged up. He's been on. He had left practice early and had limited practice this week. Also, let's remember, Steelers highly emotional, play up to the level of their competition, and the last time they played this team, it was 43-14. The Chiefs had no answers for the big plays of this Pittsburgh Steelers. I heard one time, and I believe it to be true, greatness beats a lot of good. The Kansas City Chiefs have a lot of good. The Steelers have potential greatness with Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, Martavius Bryant, Juju Smith, and what's left of Ben Roethlisberger. I'm not big on the Steelers as far as the season, but I am big on this game, even though the pros are telling you once again, take the Chiefs. So take the Steelers. You got 4.5 points. Patriots at Jets, number 3. The Patriots are going into it as a 9.5-point favorites. I've only got 2 things to say about this. We do understand these two teams have the same record, right? Like, I know that sounds crazy, but they have the same record. Let that sink in. Also, the Patriots have been 9+ point favorites twice this year. They're 0-2. Let that sink in. Number 4, Browns at Texans. The Texans are 9.5-point favorites. The Browns are dysfunctional. They're a mess. They're Cleveland. They're garbage. They are every bad word and thing you can think of. But, and this is kind of a personal feel and a personal pick, Deshaun Watson in college, I don't know back to high school, but in college and in the NFL, is kind of a play up to his competition kind of guy. You know what Deshaun Watson was before he beat Alabama? On an underachieving Clemson team that lost to an unranked team that made Dabo Swinney have to go out and defend his team about that they could play better, and they are better than what they showed. But when he played Alabama, he was able to throw for 400 yards because he played up to his competition. He played the Chiefs. He played great. He played the Patriots. He played great. But he struggles against the lesser competition teams. Not saying Houston doesn't win this game, but it's not going to be by 10+ points. Number 5, Giants at Broncos. The Broncos are given 11.5, which is a huge number, especially for a team that really does not have a theoretically explosive offense. I'm taking Denver with the points only because I believe New York is officially tied with Cleveland as the most, and San Francisco, as the most dysfunctional, as the most unsettling situation, as the most, they're just the worst situation in football right now. And not all is their not all is their fault. They are, unfortunately, have Marshall on IR, Odell Beckham on IR, Sterling Shepard's in a boot. He's not going to play. Like, they're going to literally be running out of B team. Dominic Rodgers-Cromartie is suspended. Like, the defense has not played as well as they did last year. The offense is literally breaking down. Eli Manning is not that great. Denver, after a bye week, Denver playing on Sunday Night Football, which on Sunday Night Football, Denver's averaged over 30 points a game in the last 5 years. Understandably, a lot of that was with Peyton Manning, but I still state my case. New York's not going to score out more than 10 points. I think Denver gets into the 20s. Calling it Denver 24, New York 10. It's the only game I'm calling the score. I'd also like to say, just because I am a huge fan of him, I don't get why so many of you guys go after Colin Cowherd on Twitter. I think you just play into his hands because he's very good at deflecting. Like him and Shannon Sharp are hilarious when it comes to deflecting trolls, and I just don't get why people keep trying to go after them. Like I'm a big fan of both. I think they're both really funny. I think they're both very well informed. I think Colin is probably the guy I would say I try to model myself after in some regards in terms of his like work ethic, how much show prep he puts into it. Like, and understand he's been doing this for a long time. He is one of the few guys in sports media that when he changes, ratings change. He went from ESPN to FS1, and there is direct correlations to his change for radio and overall performance of the network going down for ESPN and going up for FS1. I understand FS1 brought a lot of other people on, but look at the people that they brought on. They are impact, they are difference makers. Skip Bayless, he's one of the few people. He moves the needle. You might not like what he says, you might not like how he acts, but he moves the needle. He's great at what he does. And Colin Cowherd is also great at what he does. He's in the top 2% of what he does. And I know there's a bunch of people that are mad about what he said about Philadelphia, and that's fine. I'd probably be upset too if he said Denver was the dumbest set of sports fans. But I understand the point he was trying to make. And did he use the extreme end of the point? Yes. But sometimes you have to use the extreme end of the point to get the point across. You know, you're the same people that complain about that, but you love reading all those crazy headlines, and they'll be like, oh, guess what? Trump bombed North Korea and just didn't tell anybody about it. Like, you're the people that read those headlines. So I don't want to hear any of this. Oh, well, he came after my city. He did this. He did that. Like, it's what happens. On to what else was it? There's been a bunch of hilarious NBA preseason highlights on Twitter. I think it was what is it? Twitter was actually kind of dead for me these last 2 days. Here's one about the Nationals on Twitter. I thought this was interesting. 2012. This is just not even interesting. This is just probably for Bryce Harper. This is depressing. Don't listen to this, Bryce Harper. If you're listening to me, don't continue to listen, or at least bleep me out for the next 30 seconds. 2012 lost LDS 3-2. 2013 missed playoffs. 2014 lost LDS 3-1. 2015 missed playoffs. 2016 and 2017 lost the League Division Series 3-2. Yeah, and that is like the Strasburg Harper era. You know what's crazy? I think you could get a lot of people to say Bryce Harper and Mike Trout are the two best players and or talents of this generation. Neither of them are winning shit anytime soon. Let me segue that into talking about them not winning shit into next thing I want to talk about, which is I've been really spot on with my baseball. I had the Cubs not repeating. They are in the LCS, but I don't see them winning. I had the Dodgers not winning. They are on the LCS. I have them losing in the World Series. And then I called the Red Sox, and then I've called the Astros to this point. So if I get Astros, Dodgers in the World Series, and the Astros win, that'll put me at an 80% hit rate for baseball, which, if you know anything about sports gambling or just gambling in general, if you're doing something at an 80% clip, that's ridiculous. Like, that is greatness. That is all time. That is Barry Bonds. I'm the Barry Bonds of calling baseball. No cheating, of course. Other thing I wanted to get into, got two more things on my docket here. I wanted to put it in my 3 things about basketball. I did not, only because I feel like this is more so a bold prediction than it is a, oh, this is a fact, or this is what I truly believe. But my bold prediction for this NBA season, the Golden State Warriors will win their final title as a core group. meaning they will get it this year, which will give them 3 out of 4. We'll give Durant 2, Curry and Clay and Draymond 3. Why do I think it's their last? Because unless you are Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, or you're on those 60 Celtics teams, that's pretty much about how long your run lasts. And it's not just one of these things where it's like your run lasts to a certain point, or you win 3 out of 4, or you win 4 out of 6, you do whatever it is, and then it's like, okay, your time's up, done. There's a reason for all these things. Big reason is usually the NBA changes. Like in the 60s and 70s, it was just defense, hard nose, grind it out. In the 70s and 80s, it became more of this athletic game. It was, you had these dominant wing players starting to get in the game. You had big men who ran the league for like 20 years. Then you had these LeBron, Paul George, these taller players who could handle the ball, could shoot a little bit, and they were matchup nightmares for everybody. Then now you have these 3-point shooters everywhere, and everyone wants to shoot threes. The Rockets shoot more threes than they damn near take 2s or even layups to put together. They love shooting 3-point shots. They don't care how many they miss or how many they take. They're going to keep shooting them. Well, the Warriors have perfected the 3-point model. But the next trend in the NBA, and I'm calling this now, so if you're watching, just know I called this first, is length. Pause. You look at teams, like the 2 teams I am most excited about this season are the Pelicans and the Milwaukee Bucks. Because I believe they have the most length to deal with these 3-point shooting teams. And because of that, these 3-point shooting teams aren't going to be able to do what they used to do against other teams. Like, when you take the Bucks, who can literally line up 6'4" and taller with like 7-foot arms and look like aliens out there, that's going to mess with Golden State. Like, Golden State just can't shoot threes over guys with longer arms than them. Because you know why? They turned from threes, which they've basically turned into layups, and a good shot, they turned them into contested shots. This is why centers ran the league for so long, because they were big enough and dominant enough and had enough, if they had enough footwork, they could get you easy shots. Well, easy shots have changed. It's no longer just having a center who can bang down in the post and can get you 2 points. An easy shot is a system that gets guys open for 3, and those 3-point shots, uncontested, have become good shots. When you have length, like in Milwaukee, length, like in New Orleans, you turn those easy shots into contested shots, and then now you are the ones who are getting easy shots. Like, there's no one in this league who can consistently... You might get a few of them, obviously. Like, no one's perfect. There's no one who can consistently block Anthony Davis or Giannis Antetokounmpo. Or DeMarcus Cousins, for that matter. Like, there is... These guys, or Malcolm Brogdon has great length. Chris Middleton has great length. Rondo has great length as a point guard. They have Quincy Pondexter in New Orleans. Darius Miller they just brought back. Ian Clark has length. Like, there are so many guys who have length in this league. Alexis Ajinça. That's what's going to start overthrowing this Warriors team. Like, everyone's wondering, like, well, how do you do it? How do you do it? You just got to outshoot him. No, you're not going to outshoot him. Like, you weren't going to out-2-guard MJ and the Bulls in the 90s. You weren't. Clyde Drexler's a Hall of Famer, one of the 50 greatest players ever. He wasn't going to out-2-guard Michael. You had to do something different. There's a reason why the league transitioned from Mike to Shaq. Shaq and the big man and Tim Duncan and Dirk and these big men that had these big runs in the 2000s, and then started transition to LeBron's, and then started transition to what is now the Warriors in this 3-point shooting league. But it always happens. It's nothing against the Golden State Warriors. They're a great team. They're a dynasty. But there's a reason dynasties don't last forever. So Golden State, you got one more left. I hope you enjoy it. Fuck y'all. Also, to finish up my basketball part of the show, and just to finish up the show in general, there was a comment that one Michael Jeffrey Jordan made, and I couldn't think it's more wrong. He said that he's not a fan of the Super Teams era because you're going to have like 2 great teams and then 28 garbage teams. well, Mike, I apologize, but I think you're completely wrong in the situation. When you have a great company or a great business or a great establishment, they don't just, do they shut down and make people think, oh, why even bother? Yes. If you're weak-willed, weak mentality, and you just don't have it in you in the jump from the jump, then yes, those kind of things will shut you down. They will discourage you. But the other people, like these NBA teams that have a lot of guys who are strong-willed, a lot of these guys who have a strong mentality, these guys who have if they did it, I can figure out a way to compete with them, even if it's not the same style as them. Those people don't give up. Amazon has this issue, and it's not even an issue, but people like to think Amazon has an issue with the fact that they shut down retailers. There is no retailer that can exist and fight with Amazon. Yes, there is. They just need to be creative. They just need to be inventive. And I never understood why people are so against this, because as a consumer, which 90% of the world is, it's better for us. Look at what's happened because the Warriors are so great. You have now the OKC Thunder. You have now what's happening in Houston. You had San Antonio went out and spent money on LaMarcus Aldridge. You have Cleveland. You have Boston. You have Washington, Milwaukee. You have so many teams. Yes, you have Philadelphia. Trust the process. Do you have 4 or 5 crappy teams at the bottom? Yes, but you're going to have that regardless. The Nets will suck no matter what's going on. And think of this. It's not even just a big market thing anymore. Like, think about that. The Pelicans have 2 of the top 12 players. The Cavaliers did when they had Kyrie and LeBron. You have San Antonio, which isn't a big market, with Kawhi Leonard, LaMarcus Aldridge. You have Oklahoma City Thunder with the big 3. Oklahoma City, the place is fucking famous for silos. Mike, you're wrong. I'm sorry. Anyway, as always, you guys, go subscribe to the YouTube channel, the SoundCloud page, my podcast on iTunes, Stitcher. Go find me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, HardFoul Podcast, Snapchat, JKid9080. Hope you guys have a fabulous weekend. Don't get too drunk, and I will see you guys all on Monday. Peace out.